body and landed down the center.
Okay, we'll start with this per a tweet from Mike Coppinger via his sources. Amanda Serrano, ESPN's number 3 pound-for-pound female boxer, will fight Miriam Gutierrez on December 18th on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. The bout is a return to 135 pounds for Serrano, who is currently 126-pound champion, a potential prelude to a spring showdown with Katie Taylor. And this won't be a defense of Amanda's 2 alphabet titles in the featherweight division.
There's no world titles on the line in this fight.
It's mostly because at this weight, Katie Taylor has all the titles. She is this division's undisputed champion. This is but an appetizer, a warm-up to what's supposed to be Serrano versus Taylor, provided that Serrano makes it past Gutierrez. And I think she can. I think she will. Miriam Gutierrez...
She was Katie's WBA mandatory a few fights ago.
Katie Taylor beat her easy. She won on points. Now Amanda's going to be fighting her.
I'm a little surprised.
I half expected Amanda's next fight on Jake Paul's undercard to be a featherweight unification match with reigning WBA featherweight champion Erica Cruz of Mexico, but it appears that Erica's got a dance partner, Melissa Esquivel. Very interesting situation here because initially Erica Cruz was supposed to be fighting Melissa last month on the 23rd. We talked about that here on the channel way back in September towards the end of that month when that news broke that the reigning WBA featherweight champion was supposed to be in action south of the border in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, in what would be her first defense of her newly obtained WBA title. That news broke in September, but since then, there have been more developments. Matchroom signed Erica Cruz. Initially, Cruz versus Esquivel was not a Matchroom show, but now it is, and it's set to go down November 26th, same location, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, except now it's going down this month on the 26th, where initially it was supposed to be going down last month on the 23rd. It's not a secret that Eddie Hearn, alongside Canelo Alvarez and Canelo's promotional outfit, they're working to develop homegrown talent in Mexico. And on the fight poster for Cruz versus Esquivel, you'll notice Canelo Alvarez's signature logo, his emblem.
This could be interpreted as an arm of that alliance.
Could be interpreted as the beginnings of that partnership between Matchroom and Canelo Alvarez Promotions in order to help develop talent in Mexico and stage cards there. Though what this essentially means is that the goal to unify the featherweight division, Amanda's goal, and become its undisputed champion, that goal is on hold. It's on the back burner for at least her next 2 fights, because her next fight is a lightweight contest against Miriam Gutierrez. Then after that, they want to move her straight into a Katie Taylor fight in the spring. We shift the focus just a little bit for a second. Reigning WBA featherweight champion Erica Cruz of Mexico, with both Matchroom and Canelo Alvarez Promotions behind her, can secure a fight with the likes of a Sarah Mahfoud, for example. Sarah Mahfoud, who I think is a more beatable opponent for Erica than Amanda Serrano.
But she has to make it past Melissa Esquivel first.
Both fighters saw action earlier this year in the month of April, both Erica and Melissa. Thus, neither one of them has any ring rust, cobwebs they have to shake off. So it's going to come down to who's the better boxer, who's the better fighter on November 26th when they meet. They both have a very similar number of fights, though Erica has faced a considerably more experienced fighter than anyone Melissa Esquivel has faced so far. Erica, in her last fight, unseeded, defeated reigning WBA featherweight champion Jelena Marjanovic of Canada.
Interesting situation between these two.
And we'll see what happens between them later on this month. Next month, Amanda Serrano is going to be in action against Miriam Gutierrez. And this is an opportunity for Amanda to make a statement at lightweight, because we know that this is a common opponent between her and Katie Taylor, who she may be facing in spring of next year. If she can knock out Miriam Gutierrez, where Katie Taylor did not, where Katie decisioned Miriam.
It's a good marketing angle for Amanda's power.
Legitimizing it because Amanda Serrano, she's got a lot of knockouts. She does. But most of those knockouts are over pedestrian-level girls, pedestrian-level opponents. In her last fight, she took on super bantamweight champion Jamie Mercado, but it wasn't at super bantamweight. It was at featherweight. It was at 126 pounds, not 122. And she couldn't knock out Jamie Mercado. She beat her. She definitely beat her. There was a noticeable discrepancy in skills between the fighters, a skills gap between Amanda and Jamie, though all the same. She didn't knock her out. And if Amanda at 135 pounds can knock out Miriam Gutierrez, where Katie Taylor did not, I think that would go a long way towards helping to market Amanda's knockout power on the premise that maybe she can stop Katie where other girls haven't stopped Katie.
Big punches.
By knocking out someone that Katie Taylor fought, by knocking out someone that Katie Taylor could not knock out.
Yeah, there's an opportunity there.
You could argue that Miriam Gutierrez is a naturally bigger woman than Amanda Serrano, though it's a little bit tenuous because Amanda's fluctuated in weight so many times over the years, you really don't know for sure.
She's fought anywhere from 115 pounds to as high as 140.
One of the very first, if not the first, full-fledged alphabet title that Amanda Serrano won was at lightweight, was at 135 pounds. The WBO title that she won from Maria Maderna.
And that was back in 2014.
Amanda Serrano, 7 years ago, she stopped Maria in 6 rounds. Can she stop Miriam Gutierrez en route to a Katie Taylor fight? Because Amanda's no stranger to the lightweight division. That much we know. That much is established.
She's been there before.
Can she deliver on a deadline now to help market herself and sell her power before she takes center stage with Katie Taylor? That's the question. We'll find out in December because I reiterate, I'm confident that Amanda is a better boxer than Miriam Gutierrez. But can she stop her when it counts the most? Can she stay in character? We'll find out.
What makes Canelo so dangerous? What makes him so dangerous? What makes Canelo so dangerous?
That was reigning WBC champion Jermall Charlo, who was in attendance for this weekend's big super middleweight undisputed title fight, and I guess he didn't like the question.
What makes Canelo so dangerous?
Because Jermall Charlo is one of Canelo Alvarez's many contemporaries, because Jermall holds the WBC title in the middleweight division, middleweight just under super middleweight, where Canelo Alvarez this weekend became an undisputed champion, the author of this video thought it prudent to get Jermall's anecdotes, and we see how he reacted.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything particularly offensive about that question.
So it's not unusual to see Jermall Charlo lashing out, acting out sporadically like a petulant child almost, though in reality, he's not a child. This guy's in his early 30s.
Fucking guy's 31 years old.
He's not a teen. He's not a tween. He's not one of the proverbial new kids on the block. Jermall Charlo is very much an adult that behaves like a child.
Not the least bit media friendly.
For what it's worth, I actually want Jermall Charlo to get the Canelo fight. I actually want him to be the next guy that Canelo Alvarez fights next year upon his return, because for the longest time, Jermall Charlo has been propped up as some kind of fictitious boogeyman that Canelo Alvarez is avoiding, in spite of early reports that Jermall was already offered this fight back when Canelo Alvarez was still with Golden Boy. Roberto Diaz, Oscar De La Hoya, they're on record saying that they offered Jermall Charlo a career-high purse, a career-high payday some time ago to face Canelo Alvarez back when Canelo was still with Golden Boy, and somebody on Jermall's side, they turned it down.
Perhaps that's why Canelo's a sore spot for this guy.
Perhaps that's why he lashed out at the author of this video, who was simply asking a question, a simple question. What is it that makes Canelo Alvarez a dangerous opponent, a dangerous fighter? Jermall Charlo.
You see how he reacted.
I'm not against Jermall getting the Canelo Alvarez fight, the same way I'm not against Demetrius Andrade getting the Canelo Alvarez fight, the same way I'm not against David Benavidez getting that fight, Artur Beterbiev, or Dimitri Bivol.
Any one of them is a suitable opponent choice.
The reason I would like to see Jermall get the fight is because too many people have been blowing too much smoke up too many asses about this fucking hype job.
This fucking guy sucks.
There's a small circle, a small group of individuals who view the career exploits of Jermall Charlo, his opponents thus far, with blinders on, rose-tinted lenses. I mean, could you imagine what people would say if Gennady Golovkin, for example, went 12 rounds with a unheralded junior middleweight at middleweight in Brandon Adams? Could you imagine what people would say if a guy like Juan Macias Montiel went the distance with the likes of a Gennady Golovkin, with the likes of a Canelo Alvarez? He goes the distance with Jermall Charlo.
These mutants think he's the boogeyman.
Demetrius Andrade, reigning WBO 2-division champion Demetrius Andrade, seems more a boogeyman to me than Jermall Charlo, because Jermall Charlo, he's been avoiding that guy for years, and it's well publicized, it's well documented. Jermall's got no time for a unification match with Demetrius Andrade, yet he's been beating the drum about unifications for a while, and I don't know how that works. I don't know how that's supposed to happen when Gennady Golovkin is spoken for, has been spoken for. The only available champion at your weight, the only other available champion, is a guy you don't want to fight, no matter how much money they offer you to fight him. You'd rather fight guys like Hennis Dogan,
Dennis Hogan,
a
junior middleweight.
Brandon Adams,
a junior middleweight.
He fought Sergey Didivianchenko, Sergey who had been inactive for roughly 12 months leading up to that Jermall Charlo fight, coming off that war with Gennady Golovkin, a war that saw him getting dropped in the course of the fight and losing a decision. After that, Jermall Charlo fights that guy. I guess that's supposed to be better than unifying with Demetrius, right?
I guess so.
He fights Juan Macias Montiel after that, a guy that Jaime Munguia knocked out years ago. Juan, he goes the distance with Jermall. He goes the distance with this guy. And Jermall's supporters, they turn a blind eye to this when it is indicative that Jermall isn't what they want him to be. He's a very basic 1-2 fighter.
Straight up and down.
Basic with no special effects, no bells and whistles.
Ordinary.
I'll go as far as saying I think he's regressed. I think he was actually a better, sharper fighter at junior middleweight than what he's turned out to be as a middleweight. He's been at middleweight for 4 years, and he's got no real signature wins, no big victories. He's been in this division for roughly 4 going on 5 years, has yet to unify a title. I'll tell you something, I used to have a much higher opinion of Jermall Charlo back when he was in the junior middleweight division, but a lot has happened, rather, a lot hasn't happened, since the counter uppercut that floored Julian Williams 5 years ago in 2016. Jermall is not the fighter that I thought he would turn out to be. Since then, he's become the false idol, the poster child for the latest narrative levied against Canelo Alvarez, the fabricated boogeyman, as it were, a guy who Canelo Alvarez is supposedly avoiding by fighting guys that have better bodies of work, better resumes than Jermall.
Like Danny Jacobs.
I mean, even Billy Joe Saunders has a better body of work, a better resume than Jermall. He beat unbeaten Spike O'Sullivan, unbeaten John Ryder, unbeaten Chris Eubank Jr., David Lemieux, who the bookies favored to beat him. I mean, even Billy Joe Saunders is a more proven fighter than Jermall Charlo. Yet there are those out there that would have me and you believe that Jermall is a boogeyman. For what reason?
Tribalism.
Which I've no stomach for. Ultimately, Canelo Alvarez, given everything that he's done, not only has he made me a believer, but he's earned the right to choose. He's done enough that it's up to him who he wants to fight. And whoever he picks, Jermall, Demetrius, David, Dimitri, or Artur, it's all fine by me.
Well, I wouldn't mind it at all seeing him knock this hype job's block off in his next fight.
Because boxing don't need boxers like Jermall Charlo that are going to sit on their hands, playing it safe, waiting for an opportunity whilst holding an alphabet title hostage.
I hope Canelo picks him next.
Because Canelo Alvarez deserves a break after the 11-month run that he's been on, and at this point, Jermall Charlo is but a cherry to a superior fighter and a superior athlete. Just in keeping with the theme of all things Canelo, Showtime, PBC, Al Heyman treated me so well, we'll see what comes next year. Showtime, PBC, Al Heyman, everybody treated me so well, Alvarez said during his post-fight press conference. I felt really comfortable, and all I can say is that overall, end-to-end, it was excellent. I have nothing in particular in mind right now, but I love challenges, Alvarez said. And whatever comes my way, I'll be ready for it. I'm ready for any challenge, anytime, but we'll see what comes next year. I really don't have a time set for sitting down with my team and thinking about it right now. I'm just enjoying the moment. Canelo stated, my body needs rest. I need to recover. Probably gonna be May when I come back. Alvarez didn't even hint late Saturday night at who he will consider fighting next. He was more interested, and understandably so, in celebrating his achievement and spending time with his family. The wear and tear really is during the training sessions, trying to make weight, Alvarez said. That's when you really feel the tiredness of it all. But right now, if I have to tell you, I feel 100%. My body is responding splendidly, and all I need now is some rest until May. And then we will go on to the next challenge. A well-deserved rest I might add. Canelo Alvarez has done more for his career and his legacy in the last 11 months than fighters like Jermall Charlo have in years. Years.
He is as a junior middleweight and a middleweight.
Jermall, who we just talked about. Jermall, who to some people he's supposed to be some kind of boogeyman, a boogeyman that never unified at 154 pounds, still hasn't unified at 160 pounds, although he's been there for the last 4, going on 5 years, and he has been made offers to unify with at least one of the champions that are there right now.
Demetrius.
So it's conceivable that that fight might be one of those fights that never materializes. That might be the one that got away. Because if Canelo Alvarez means to return in May of next year, that means all these other guys at or around these weights, they're going to play it safe until May, hoping that he picks one of them. They're not going to take on any serious threats, any serious challenges between now and the month of May in the year of 2022. Now, I'll say this much. I don't think the light heavyweights are as affected by Canelo Alvarez's movements. Dimitri, Artur, I don't think they're going to hold up their own careers, stall on having fights, waiting for Canelo, because it could be sometime before Canelo returns to the light heavyweight division. If he were to do that in his next fight, I'm okay with it, though I don't think that's the way it's going to break down. I don't think that's the way it's going to happen. Canelo Alvarez seems to have had a positive experience over there on PBC's Isolation Island. They rolled out the red carpet for the cash cow of boxing in this country, and it's conceivable that he will have another fight over there with one of their guys. They've got 2 prize stallions left in the show. Jermall Charlo, WBC middleweight champion, and David Benavidez, former WBC super middleweight champion. And out of those 2 guys, been saying it all this time, I think that Jermall is next. So when you think about Jermall, the way his middleweight campaign has turned out, all the things that he hasn't done.
A fight with Canelo likely is going to be at super middleweight.
Jermall has yet to face any of the best and brightest fighters at middleweight, let alone super middleweight. Jermall's power at 154, it didn't seem to really carry up to 160, and I don't think it'll carry up to 168. What Jermall really represents to me in this situation is a commodity, an asset, a disposable one, a disposable asset that Al Heyman will soon cash out.
He's not grooming him to beat Canelo.
He's preserving him in order to cash him out. Next year, I think that's what he's going to do.